Wow, so it turns out the theories were exactly correct, and the show pulled off the reveal perfectly. This was easily the best episode of the season so far, one of the best episodes of the series because of the reveal and other things, but honestly, it's Vigilante that just consistently stole the show. This will be my breakdown and a review for Peacemaker Season 2 Episode 6, titled Ignorance is Chris, which is a fantastic title, really fitting. Let me know your thoughts about the episode in the comments down below, like and subscribe, and become a member in the Noble tier or above for early access to videos, or in the King tier for a special shout out. Thanks to these members for the extra support. So let's start with what we learned about the DCU, and there are a few things. The biggest thing is the reveal that Earth 2 is not Earth 2 at all, and in fact it's Earth X, something familiar to the fans of the Arrowverse, a world where the Nazis won World War II and the Nazi ideology took over the world, including the United States. This was the primary theory from fans, as there were hints here and there, specifically exactly what Amelia Harcourt noticed, which is that there's no people of color in the streets, and it turns out it's exactly true. The DCU multiverse has two confirmed worlds, one based on the Prime Universe and one based on Earth X. As for whether the Freedom Fighters, Overman, or a Nazi Justice League exist, we don't know, although we do know that a few of these characters do exist on Earth 1, like Phantom Lady, who was a hero during World War II, and Dollman, who was a hero at some point somewhere. Maybe Earth 2/X also had the Freedom Fighters, they just so happen to have lost during World War II, and in the present day, they do not exist. Lex Luthor makes his second appearance in the DCU, this time from Belle Reve Prison. This appearance, alongside the confirmed appearance in Man of Tomorrow, makes Lex one of the most recurring characters in the DCU, like around the top 10 at this point. As of this episode, and this is sure to come up in Man of Tomorrow, Lex and Argus have struck a partnership, and Lex has been moved from Belle Reve Prison to Van Kull, which is another prison from the comics, and like Earth X, another thing that was featured in the Arrowverse. Lex mentions two metahumans in Belle Reve with pretty specific descriptions. A bear-sized man with dragon skin could definitely very well be Killer Croc, even though Killer Croc is a Batman villain, so you'd expect maybe Arkham Asylum instead of Belle Reve, but since he is a metahuman and a little bit more powerful than most Batman villains, Belle Reve makes a lot more sense. Then again, I think it's more likely that he's just referring to random metahumans that will never appear and are not from the comics, because, well, for one, if it is Killer Croc, that means he's gay, which he typically isn't in the comics, but then also a glowing twink with cartoon eyes. Honestly, I have no clue who that could be. Like, Dr. Phosphorus glows, but I wouldn't call him a twink, nor does he have cartoon eyes. I truly have no clue, and I honestly don't think either of these are actually characters, even if one of them could maybe fit the description of Killer Croc. As the two vigilantes meet each other, they act out and then reference the Spider-Man meme, canonizing Spider-Man and also the 60s animated series as a fictional character and a fictional TV show in both universes. Ghost Rider was previously referenced in Creature Commandos, so clearly Marvel Comics exist as comics, shows, and movies in the DCU. Now, this might be a bit of an oversight on James Gunn's part, or maybe a nitpick on mine, but it kinda doesn't make sense that Spider-Man exists on Earth X, since he was very famously co-created by Stan Lee, whose real name was Stanley Martin Lieber. He's Jewish, in a Nazi world, in the 60s, after World War II. I highly doubt it. Moving on to the review, I absolutely love this episode, even if it's so short. I thought for sure these last 3 episodes would be longer, but this is the shortest episode of the series so far again. It's only 35 minutes. Anyway, the cold open really caught me off guard, both because it's not a flashback, so there's no longer a formula to these things, but also because the ending of the scene really shocked me. As their faces begun distorting, I reacted like, what the hell was that? And then became extremely intrigued to the idea that maybe all the little drops of evidence towards the Nazi world were like red herrings, and this face distortion hint towards something different, like this reality being fabricated or run by aliens with that face shape. I didn't know what to think. It was so odd. It turns out it was a visual metaphor for the world being distorted morally and different from what Chris thinks. An interesting way to go about it, but also it's undeniably an effective immediate hook that gave the rest of the episode an ominous feel that made me think that maybe it's going to be something different from what I expect, only for it to end up being exactly what I initially expected. As we get into the post-intro episode, it becomes clear that Vigilante will be getting focus, and frankly, just based on that, this episode has huge points. I love Vigilante. He's the absolute best, and he's maybe at his best in this episode. The scene with his mom is really funny and just offers some interesting insights towards Adrian's life, since we truly knew nothing about him. How is he so skilled? Where to get his costume and weapons? I don't know, so it's interesting to learn more, and in such a funny funny scene that showcases Adrian's interesting relationship with his mother, and then also his storage room full of drugs and money. Turns out, Vigilante is really rich, but refuses to use the money because it's blood money. The others taking the money is also hilarious. These moments in general were really funny. And then Vigilante finally suits up. It's honestly insane, and it's kind of messed up that it took this long, but hell yes, finally. I love Vigilante. He just continues to be an absolute delight to watch throughout the episode as he goes to find his alternate universe self and reacts to each small detail. Honestly, literally every reaction got a laugh out of me, but especially his reaction to his dad not being gay in this world. Hilarious. And then Adrian meeting himself did not disappoint. He's literally exactly what he expected, which is contrary to what I expected. I thought maybe Adrian would be disappointed with what he finds, but the other Adrian's reaction was hilarious. Their conversation from later is incredible. Are you kidding me? Vigilante's favorite Pokemon is Infernape? That's literally been my favorite Pokemon since I was a kid. I fucking love Vigilante. I'll get back to that final reveal later, but holy shit, this episode was absolutely peak Vigilante. The show's best character, bar none. It's not even close. Backing up, some of the episodes saw the 11th Street kids together, just missing Peacemaker and Vigilante, and it really reminded me of what the series was really missing this season. These characters together as a group, bouncing off each other, they have fantastic chemistry, and then they split up yet again, which ended up working for the episode, but I think generally speaking this season, it's the 11th Street kids group chemistry that has really been missing. They were together like all the time in season 1, and that was one of the best parts. Harcourt's moment with Keith was funny, and she went on to remain a highlight of the episode as she's detained at Argus and ends up in a conversation with Chris. This scene was fantastic, very well written and incredibly well acted, especially from Jennifer Holland, in a scene that showcases Harcourt's hardened emotional walls breaking down a bit as she opens up for what feels like maybe the first time. Meanwhile, Chris, who really does not feel like the protagonist here or in this episode in general, is honestly being a bit weird. He's both sleeping with the Harcourt of the other world and essentially telling Prime Harcourt that he'll come back if she tells him that she loves him. Kind of emotional manipulation. It's an interesting moment that works in essentially every way, except maybe for making the audience want them to get together. Or at least for me personally, I don't really want them to. I don't think that'd work. I also want to mention something that James Gunn talked about in the Peacemaker podcast, which is that this scene is similar to the interview scene in Superman. It's really just two people talking to each other, but the reason that it's visually interesting is that they move around the room like a real life conversation typically would be, and that's something that I definitely appreciate. I think it works really well to make the scene feel more real, visually interesting, and a lot more engaging. Backing up again, Flag's scene with Flurry is funny, but obviously it's what follows that is what I was excited for. Gunn has said before that there will be a big cameo from Superman, and in the trailers it was teased that Flag will visit someone in prison. In a season focused on interdimensional travel, it had to be Lex, so this wasn't exactly surprising, but it sure as hell is awesome. The incredible Luthor Court music started playing as Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor jumped from film to television and from PG-13 to an R rating. It's weird because this episode in Superman had the same writer, same director, and Lex is played by the same actor, and yet he felt a bit different. There's the cursing and the crassness and the bit of a different tone, but I think it's more the performance itself and the place that Lex is in. He feels dejected and defeated, which of course he is, but it makes for a stark contrast to how he acted in Superman on top of the world. I guess now, as he partners with Argus and moves to a better prison, he'll start building himself back up again, probably even get out in Man of Tomorrow, and feel more like the Lex Luthor in Superman in Man of Tomorrow as opposed to the Lex Luthor here. He actually does feel like the same person, but a dejected and defeated version of him. What really makes this scene great is how Gunn effortlessly creates interconnectivity in these projects. This scene features the main villain of Superman and one of the main characters of Creature Commandos, and yet is essential to the plot. These aren't cameos, these characters play pivotal roles. If the DCU continues like this, the interconnectivity will outdo the Marvel Cinematic Universes and be something truly special. The last few minutes of the episode are incredible, starting with the Vigilantes finding out the one thing that differentiates them, Peacemaker. I kinda love the idea that the Vigilante of this other world is also a good guy, but also he's just as delusional about Peacemaker as our Vigilante, just in a different way. I like to think that while Vigilante thinks Peacemaker is his archenemy, Peacemaker considers Vigilante just another son of liberty. He's also, he's dead now. These last few minutes have a really tense atmosphere because of the music and because of the setting, upsetting because Adebayo does the last thing that she should have done in this world, go for a walk. Economos being attacked by Blue Dragon and Harcourt realizing what's wrong with this world, just like the audience has. The music is intense, the simultaneous moments are well edited together, and the flag reveal was perfect. A fantastic reveal that was very well foreshadowed, sets up the next episode really well, and leads into a great end credits song. So in conclusion, this episode was fantastic. Vigilante stole the show, making for a hilarious episode that is an absolute delight to watch. Impressive universe interconnectivity and a great moment from Lex, emotional moments with great acting. It's generally well written and well acted, and ended with a reveal that, while expected, was honestly expertly pulled off. There was no action and it's a bit short, but otherwise incredible. The season's first 9 out of 10, let's see if they could stick the landing with the last 2 episodes. Gunn said we'll learn everything in episode 7 and that episode 8 is incredible, so I'm definitely really looking forward to both.